Hey, my name's Brad, and this is my before and after story. The two words I picked for this were failure and secure. I'll start with a little background. First, my family tried church when I was younger, like elementary school, but us kids, we really weren't getting too much out of it, and we complained a lot, and it just wasn't worth it, so eventually we just stopped going altogether. A little bit about my family. My parents got divorced when I was really young, like 2 years old, and they were really loving towards us, but they had a lot of anger towards each other. And because of this, there's a lot of conflict growing up. And me, being the middle child, always tried to fix it. I was constantly putting myself in the middle, trying to help my brothers get along, help my mom and dad figure something out, or just, anything I could do to try and help. And as a result, I failed a lot. This created a lot of sadness for me, a lot of resent, a lot of anger, and just like the biggest issue out of all of that was like I couldn't fix that anger or that frustration or that sadness, and that was a big issue for me growing up. I tried to escape that in any way I could. I read a lot, a lot of video games, the internet. As I grew up, friends, alcohol, relationship with girls, like just anything I could to try and like help feel better or go into some kind of different situation than what I was in. The worst part of all that growing up was just like having time to think to myself, because I hated to see that time and see that failure that I was constantly doing, and just it was really frustrating. As time went on, though, I got out of that situation and went to college. And like, even though I was out of that environment, like things only improved a little, and I still had that constant feeling of failure, and still a lot of reminders and anxiety of just why things weren't working. Towards the end of fall semester, my sophomore year, I ended up having a breakup, and I was really down from that. Like, again, I felt like a failure in that relationship. I wasn't able to keep it together. And I was pretty down going into winter break. At one point over winter break, I got a call from my friend. He had some family issues, and as a result, his cousin was dying, and they kind of kicked him out of the house, and it was a really bad situation. And me, being the fixer, decided to go in. I tried to console him, and things ended up getting a little bit better. And that was the first time I really saw God like using me and using some of the things from my past, like using that, mentality to try and actually help somebody. But it also showed me, like, I couldn't fix everything. Like, there's just so many things so much out of my power, and I couldn't do it anymore. And, I mean, at that point, I just kind of lost it. Everything I was going through, it just was a little too much for me, or a lot too much, and I gave up that night, and just, like, I can't do it anymore. And that was the first time I prayed, and, like, just said, God, do it. And, yeah, his cousin ended up being saved, and it was good. But I wish I could say I trusted God at that point, and that I just kind of like stopped trying to lead my own life and everything, but I didn't. Good news was God never stopped pursuing me. As time went on, I went back to school, started getting involved with crew, and going to church, getting to know a little bit more. I eventually did accept Jesus, but I didn't know what that meant. Like, I accepted him into my life, but I wasn't trusting him with things. I was still leading, and things were getting a little better, but a lot of the anger, the frustration, the resentment, the things that I was going through, they were all still there, and they weren't getting fixed. God still didn't quit on me. He kept showing me I could trust him, and showing me the different parts of my life he could work on. And eventually I just started giving those parts to him, and really started trusting with those, and it was ridiculous just how much he was able to change. One example, my brother and my mom not talking. Like, it always made me really upset and resentful that, like, people could have family time. Like, they could get along where all their family would get together and talk and have fun. And I was always trying to fix my own family and, tell my little brother he should say this to her, or tell her she could try this. But I just couldn't fix it. God shows me that, like, Jesus died for me, died for my sins, which is way worse than anything my family has done or any kind of resentment I could have. And, like, I could find forgiveness for that. Like, forgiveness towards my family and forgiveness towards myself. Because, like, that was the biggest thing. Like, growing up with that resentment and that anger, like, I took it out on people that definitely didn't deserve it. And I was a really bad role model growing up. And I definitely didn't forgive myself for not being able to help my family the way I should have because of that anger and resentment. And it showed me, like, if Jesus could forgive me for that, I could forgive my family for like anything going on, and it was extremely empowering and awesome. And he just showed me like that despite all the things that happened, like I was loved and forgiven, and that was huge. Like I finally had a place to go when I was failing or messing up or just not feeling good about the situation. I had a place to go where I didn't need that anxiety, where I was loved and just forgiven, and like just the idea that he had a plan, like that all the things I were going through like had some kind of meaning and were being used for something was just awesome for me. And as time went on, like I started growing more and more secure, like I was saying, and it's funny now, like I fail more than I ever did before, and I see that failure more often than I did because I'm not running away from it anymore. But I feel so much more secure at this point than any point I have in my life, and that's just because of like God's love and Jesus dying for me. Thank you guys for listening, and if you have any questions, let me know.